What if I told you that one of the biggest gold deals in recent history just slipped through the fingers of the United States and landed in the hands of India? Yes, in a move that has shocked global markets and caught many Western analysts completely off guard, India has reportedly secured a massive gold partnership with South Africa, one of the world's richest mineral powerhouses. This isn't just about gold. This is about power, influence, and the changing balance of global economics. For decades, Western powers dominated strategic mineral partnerships across Africa. But now, a new story is unfolding, one where emerging economies like India are stepping forward, building deeper ties, and reshaping the future of global trade. How did India outmaneuver the United States? Why did South Africa choose this partnership? And what could this mean for the future of Africa and the global gold market? Today, we're breaking down everything you need to know. Welcome to the African Spotlight 24/7, where we uncover the stories shaping Africa and the world. Let's dive in. Gold has always been more than just a precious metal. For thousands of years, civilizations have fought wars, built empires, and shaped economies around it. Even in today's modern digital world, gold remains one of the most powerful financial assets on the planet when economies become unstable. When inflation rises, when currencies weaken, countries turn to gold. Central banks buy it, investors store it, governments protect it, and the nations that control its supply hold enormous economic leverage. South Africa sits at the heart of this global gold story. For over a century, South Africa has been one of the world's most important gold producers. Its mines have produced thousands of tons of gold and helped shape global markets. So when a massive new gold agreement emerges involving South Africa, the world pays attention. South Africa is not just another mining country, it is a mineral superpower. Beyond gold, the country also possesses massive reserves of platinum, diamonds, manganese, and other strategic minerals critical to modern technology. For decades, Western corporations and governments dominated mining investments across the region, but things are changing. Rapid economic growth in Asia has created a new wave of global competition for Africa's natural resources. China has invested billions across the continent. India is now accelerating its own partnerships, and African nations themselves are becoming more strategic in choosing who they work with. Instead of simply exporting raw materials, many African governments now want long-term partnerships that include investment, infrastructure, and shared economic growth. This shift has opened the door for new players. And India has stepped through that door in a big way. India's interest in gold is no secret. The country is one of the largest consumers of gold in the world. From jewelry and cultural traditions to financial investments, gold plays a massive role in Indian society. But demand is only part of the story. India is also thinking long-term. With a growing population and one of the fastest expanding economies in the world, India needs secure supply chains for critical resources. Instead of relying solely on international markets, India has increasingly pursued direct partnerships with resource-rich nations. Africa has become a key focus. Over the past decade, India has strengthened trade ties with several African countries, investing in infrastructure, mining, energy, and technology. But the reported gold deal with South Africa may be one of the most significant moves yet. By securing stronger access to South African gold resources, India not only strengthens its economic position, but also gains strategic influence in one of Africa's most important mining sectors. And this is exactly why global analysts are paying attention. Many observers are asking the same question. How did the United States lose out on such a significant partnership? The answer is complex. Historically, Western investment in Africa has often been driven by private corporations rather than government-backed strategic partnerships. Meanwhile, countries like China and India frequently approach deals with a broader vision, combining government support, long-term financing, infrastructure development, and technology transfer. This model can be very attractive for African governments seeking development partnerships rather than simple resource extraction. South Africa, like many countries across the continent, wants deals that benefit its domestic economy, create jobs, and support industrial growth. In that environment, the partner offering the most balanced and long-term cooperation often wins. And in this case, India appears to have presented a compelling proposal. This gold deal is not just about mining, it reflects a much larger shift in global power dynamics. For decades, global trade was heavily influenced by Western economies. But today, emerging powers are rapidly expanding their global partnerships. India's growing relationship with Africa is part of a broader strategy to strengthen South-South cooperation, economic collaboration between developing nations. This approach emphasizes mutual development, trade growth, and technological exchange. And Africa is becoming one of the most important arenas for this transformation. From renewable energy projects to digital infrastructure and mining investments, partnerships between African nations and emerging economies are reshaping global economic networks. For South Africa and the broader continent, deals like this can create major opportunities. If structured effectively, resource partnerships can generate revenue, build local industries, and strengthen economic independence. Many African leaders are now focused on ensuring that natural resources benefit their own populations rather than simply fueling foreign economies. That means more emphasis on local processing, industrial development, and technology transfer. Partnerships that support these goals are more likely to succeed. And if this gold deal includes investment in refining, technology, or infrastructure, it could mark an important step forward. Whenever a major gold agreement is announced, markets react. Gold prices are influenced by supply expectations, geopolitical developments, and investor confidence. If new supply chains are formed or major buyers secure long-term contracts, it can reshape the global flow of gold. India strengthening its access to South African gold could affect trade routes, investment flows, and even currency dynamics in the long run. This is why analysts across financial markets are watching closely. One of the biggest lessons from this story is the growing importance of Africa in the global economic landscape. The continent holds some of the world's most valuable untapped resources. It also has the youngest population on Earth and rapidly growing markets. Countries around the world are recognizing that Africa will play a central role in the global economy of the future. The question is no longer whether Africa matters. The question is who will build the strongest partnerships with African nations. India is clearly positioning itself as a major player. Deals like this often mark the beginning of deeper cooperation. Mining agreements frequently lead to additional investments in infrastructure, technology, and industrial development. If the partnership between India and South Africa expands, we could see new projects in refining, logistics, and manufacturing. That would not only benefit the two countries, but could also strengthen economic ties across the broader African region. The next few years will reveal how far this partnership goes. While the headlines may focus on one gold deal, the deeper story is much bigger. Across Africa, a silent economic competition is unfolding. Nations from every corner of the world are positioning themselves to build relationships with African economies. Why? Because Africa holds something the rest of the world desperately needs: resources, minerals, energy, and perhaps most importantly, the markets of the future. From lithium used in electric vehicles to cobalt powering smartphones and gold stabilizing global financial systems, Africa sits at the crossroads of the next industrial revolution. For decades, Western companies held the strongest influence over many of these industries. But today, the landscape is shifting rapidly. New players are entering the arena, and among them, India is emerging as one of the most strategic. India's relationship with Africa is not new. Trade links between Indian merchants and East African coastal cities date back centuries. Long before modern geopolitics, ships from India were sailing across the Indian Ocean trading spices, textiles, and precious goods with African kingdoms. But today's partnerships are taking place on a much larger scale. Over the past 2 decades, India has steadily expanded its economic footprint across Africa. Indian companies have invested in energy projects, pharmaceutical production, technology, infrastructure, agriculture, and mining operations. The strategy is clear: build long-term economic partnerships while supporting development projects that benefit local communities. This approach has helped India strengthen diplomatic ties across the continent. Many African governments see India not just as a buyer of resources, but also as a partner in development. That perception can make a huge difference when major deals are negotiated. To some people, gold may seem like an old-fashioned asset. After all, we now live in a world of digital currencies, electronic payments, and advanced financial markets. But behind the scenes, gold still plays a powerful role in global economics. Central banks around the world hold thousands of tons of gold reserves. These reserves help stabilize national currencies and provide a safeguard during times of economic uncertainty. In recent years, central banks in emerging economies have increased their gold purchases. Countries like India, China, and Turkey have been expanding their gold reserves as part of long-term financial strategies. Why? Because gold is seen as a safe store of value. Unlike currencies, it cannot be printed. Unlike stocks, it does not depend on corporate performance. Gold represents stability. And in a world facing economic uncertainty, stability is incredibly valuable. South Africa's connection to gold is legendary. In the late 19th century, the discovery of gold in the Witwatersrand Basin transformed the country overnight. What had been a relatively quiet region suddenly became the center of one of the greatest gold rushes in history. Cities grew rapidly, mining operations expanded across vast underground networks, and South Africa eventually became the world's largest gold producer for many decades. The gold mined from South African soil helped shape global markets and build enormous fortunes. Although production levels have changed over time, South Africa remains one of the most important gold producers in the world. Its mining sector continues to attract international attention, and any major partnership involving South African gold will inevitably influence global markets. In international negotiations, timing is everything. India's growing interest in African mineral resources did not happen overnight. For years, policymakers in New Delhi have been studying global supply chains and identifying strategic opportunities. As demand for resources increases worldwide, securing reliable supply sources becomes a national priority. Instead of relying solely on international commodity markets, India has increasingly focused on building direct partnerships with resource-rich countries. This strategy reduces supply risks and strengthens long-term economic cooperation. The reported gold partnership with South Africa appears to be part of this broader vision. By working directly with South African stakeholders, India may gain greater access to gold supply chains while also contributing investment and technology. Another factor shaping this story is the growing influence of international economic alliances. One group in particular has been gaining attention in recent years. The alliance is known as BRICS. This economic bloc originally included Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Its goal has been to strengthen cooperation between emerging economies and create alternatives to traditional Western-dominated financial systems. South Africa's membership in this group places it in a unique position when negotiating international partnerships. Deals between BRICS nations can sometimes move faster because of existing diplomatic relationships and economic cooperation frameworks. India's partnership with South Africa may therefore reflect deeper collaboration within this global alliance. Economic analysts across the world are closely watching this development. Many see it as part of a larger trend where emerging economies are strengthening ties with Africa. Some experts believe that the next decade could see a dramatic increase in South-South trade. That means trade between developing nations rather than traditional North-South trade dominated by Western economies. India's engagement in African mining projects could play a major role in this transformation. By building partnerships that include investment, technology, and long-term cooperation, emerging economies may reshape global supply chains. And Africa could become one of the biggest beneficiaries. For South Africa, partnerships like this can offer significant advantages. Investment in the mining sector can create jobs, boost exports, and support infrastructure development. If agreements include local processing facilities or technology transfers, they can also strengthen domestic industries. South Africa has long sought to move beyond simply exporting raw minerals. The goal is to develop more value-added industries that process resources locally before exporting finished products. Partnerships that support this vision are especially attractive. If India's involvement includes refining technology or industrial development, it could help South Africa move closer to that goal. Another important aspect of this story is the growing confidence of African governments in negotiating resource deals. In the past, many agreements heavily favored foreign corporations. But today, African leaders are increasingly focused on securing fairer terms. That means ensuring that resource extraction benefits local communities and contributes to national development. New laws, regulatory reforms, and regional cooperation initiatives are helping African countries strengthen their bargaining power. This shift is changing how deals are structured, and it is encouraging more balanced partnerships. The long-term effects of this gold partnership could extend far beyond the mining industry. When countries secure reliable access to strategic resources, it can influence manufacturing, finance, and international trade. India's growing access to gold could strengthen its financial sector and support its expanding economy. At the same time, increased investment in South African mining could stimulate economic growth within the region. These ripple effects demonstrate how interconnected the global economy has become. A single resource deal can influence markets across continents. Looking ahead, Africa's role in the global economy is expected to grow dramatically. The continent holds enormous reserves of minerals that will power future industries. It also has one of the fastest growing populations in the world. That combination of resources and markets makes Africa incredibly important to global development. Countries that build strong partnerships with African nations today may benefit from decades of economic cooperation. This is why global competition for African partnerships is intensifying, and why deals like the India-South Africa Gold Agreement are attracting worldwide attention. The world is changing. Economic power is no longer concentrated in just a few regions. New partnerships are forming, new alliances are rising, and Africa is increasingly at the center of it all. India securing a major gold partnership with South Africa is more than a business deal, it is a signal. A signal that global competition for Africa's resources and partnerships is entering a new era, an era where emerging economies are stepping forward with bold strategies and long-term visions. For Africa, this moment represents both opportunity and responsibility. The opportunity to leverage its resources for development, and the responsibility to ensure that partnerships create lasting benefits for its people. One thing is certain. The global race for Africa's resources, markets, and partnerships is only just beginning, and the moves being made today will shape the economic future of the world for decades to come. If you want to stay informed about the biggest stories shaping Africa and the global economy, make sure you subscribe and stay connected. This is the Frequenspotlight 24/7, bringing you the stories that matter, and we'll see you in the next video.